Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Fareed from Loyola University Medical Center. The presentation which I would like to present is Idarucizumab or Praxbind, a specific antidote for dabigatran, cross-reacts with melagatran and may also interact with other benzamidine compounds. Praxbind is an anti-dabigatran Fab fragment which specifically binds to the benzamidine group on dabigatran, inhibiting its anti-thrombin activity and thus can be used for control of bleeding. Benzamidine is a commonly used pharmacophore presented in many of the drugs, mainly serine protease inhibitors and related drugs. In dabigatran, it's largely responsible for the binding of dabigatran to thrombin and neutralizing the effects of this drug. Beside dabigatran, there are a number of other thrombin inhibitors which contain benzamidine moiety, and melagatran was such drug which is also an antithrombin agent and was introduced initially as a prodrug, C-melagatran, and later withdrawn by FDA for toxic problems. Melagatran is the active version of Z-melagatran. Because of the structural similarities between melagatran and dabigatran, we tested the relative specificity of dabigatran and its cross-reactivity with melagatran along with other drugs. You can see the structural similarities between the two drugs in this slide, dabigatran and melagatran. The presence of similar benzamidine structure on melagatran is possible explanation for the potential cross-reactivity of Praxbind or the antibodies to Praxbind with both of these drugs. So the study design was a simple one in which normal human plasma was supplemented with either dabigatran or melagatran in a concentration dependent 1 to 0 microgram per milliliter in the blood. Each of these samples then were split into two aliquots. One aliquot was additionally supplemented with either idarucizumab or saline, the other one with saline, and then we supplemented in the other one, the two drugs, the PT or prothrombin time, APTT, activated partial thromboplastin time, TT or thrombin time, and anti-2A assay were performed on all samples. So the material used in this study were dabigatran was from Boehringer Ingelheim, melagatran was from AstraZeneca, and idarucizumab from Boehringer Ingelheim. Now, the powdered form of these were also purchased from commercial sources. Prothrombin time from date-bearing activated partial thromboplastin time, from Trinity clot thrombin time, from enzyme research and anti-2A assay using a amyloidic method were used. Now, in this particular composite, it can be seen that both of these drugs are variably neutralized effectively by adding idarucizumab. Both melagatran and dabigatran's anticoagulant effects as measured by APTT and thrombin time are neutralized, as you can see in this composite slide. Similarly, in the prothrombin time assays, the relative anticoagulant effects were lesser with both drugs, but they were still neutralized. In the anti-2A amyloidic methods, both drugs were effectively neutralized. At the higher concentrations, melagatran was a little less weakly neutralized than the dabigatran. So from these simple studies, we can summarize our initial observations that idarucizumab is claimed to have a high specificity for the neutralization for this oral anticoagulant drug dabigatran. In the APTT assay, dabigatran produced stronger anticoagulant effects than melagatran. However, both agents were more completely neutralized by Praxbind. In the thrombin time, both agents has a strong anticoagulant effect. The relative neutralization of melagatran by Praxbind was weaker than dabigatran. In the PT assay, both agents produced comparable anticoagulant effect. Praxbind produced comparable neutralization of both agents. The relative inhibitory effect of dabigatran were much stronger in the anti-2A assay in comparison to melagatran. However, the idarucizumab produced comparable inhibition of both agents. So, initial conclusion from the studies reported here indicate that Praxbind alone at concentration of up to 1 milligram per ml did not produce any effect on the plasma clotting profile. Praxbind showed strongest specificity for the inhibition of dabigatran and did not affect the anticoagulants effect of other synthetic and natural anticoagulant effects of other agents such as rivaroxaban, apixaban, edoxaban, and so forth. The cross-reactivity between Idarucizumab, dabigatran, and melagatran may involve the benzamidine pharmacophore, which is primarily responsible for the inhibition of thrombin. So the clinical implication we can infer based on this observation that beside the anticoagulant containing benzamidine moieties, it is likely that idarucizumab may also exhibit interactions with following drugs with the pharmacophore in their structure containing benzamidine, pentamidine, lefradirfeban, and the anatrivant, propamidine drugs, and other agents. These results warrant a systemic screening of benzamidine containing drugs for their potential interaction with idarucizumab. In addition to this presentation, we also have another poster in this meeting where the procoagulant effects of Praxbind are shown from the standpoint of their procoagulant activity in thromboelastographic studies and in platelet aggregation profile. So these studies once again underscore the importance of proper screening of these drugs, their interaction, and their native effects on the blood coagulation profile. Thank you very much for your attention.